So thank you, everybody. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And hope everybody can see the screen. Can I get a thumbs up? Yeah, okay, awesome. So before we get going, I'd just like to mention that we have we will have today's session will be recorded, and everybody that will receive a link to the recording session, so you can watch it at your leisure if there's something you miss. There will be a question and answer period at the end, and we ask everybody to, if you've got questions during the presentation, to please just pop them down in the chat, and we'll do our best to try and answer everyone's questions at the end of the session. And before we get going, we would like to do an acknowledgement of the traditional lands. Royal Roads University is proud to acknowledge that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Swepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, staff, and faculty come together. I'm now going to hand things over to Lisa Murray.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for the important acknowledgement as well. So yes, my name is Lisa. I've been working at Royal Roads University for over 12 years now, and I'm also a very, very recent Royal Roads alumni, and I'm really looking forward to my convocation next month. I am joined today by two of my teammates, Rhonda and Christine. Rhonda will be co-hosting the presentation, and Christine will be keeping an eye on the chat box. Rhonda, would you like to introduce yourself if you're here?
Hi, everyone. Welcome today. I'm an enrollment advisor, as Lisa mentioned, and happy to answer any questions during and after this presentation that you may have.
Awesome. Thanks, Rhonda. Next slide, please, Mark. Awesome, thanks. So every good presentation includes an agenda, and here's ours this morning. So we're going to be going over the first step of the application process, which is the online application and everything that entails. Then we'll be providing information on each of the supporting documents which you'll be submitting. These will include transcripts, resume, personal statement, references, as well as some additional requirements and recommendations for some of our programs. We'll let you know how to submit the documents, and then we'll finish up with a question and answer period, as Mark mentioned, at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please, Mark. Thank you. So we're going to start with the online application, which is step one of your application process. And for this, I will hand it over to Rhonda.
Okay, so you've now done your research, you've decided on your program, and you're wondering what the next step would be. So it's to apply, and it's never too soon to apply. We do recommend you apply early. We don't wait for the deadlines to do the assessment of your application, so early is fine. So on each program page, there is an Apply Now link. You'll click on that. You'll set up an account, a MyAdmin account, and very shortly get an email with a link in it that you'll need to click on. Once you've done that, you'll have access to the online application form in your MyAdmin account. And in that form, there's basically 5 tabs that you have to go through. The citizenship tab is going to ask for Canadian or international. And in addition to Canadian citizens, permanent residents, landed immigrants, and refugees are accepted as Canadian. And if you are a permanent resident, at some point you will have to provide us with a copy of the front and back of your PR card. The next tab is your program selection. So once you've identified, chosen the program that you want, following it, there'll be a couple other sections to fill out. One will be the delivery method. Some programs are only offered in one method, either on campus or blended. Others have maybe 3 options: online, on campus, or blended. So make sure you pick the right delivery method for you. After that, there's the concentration line, and some programs have specializations, such as the leadership program with a specialization in health or executive leadership. Others offer different lengths of study. They may have an intensive 13 months, say, for the Global Leadership Program. So make sure you've selected the right concentration, and then your start date should be available. If you're not seeing the start date that you were intending on, double check that your delivery method and concentration are correct. And if you're still not seeing it, you might want to review the information on the programs page to make sure you were looking at the correct option for you. After you've selected your program, then you're into your personal history. So be very careful on what you fill out here, that it's in the correct lines. If you make a mistake here, you will have to follow up with admissions to get any corrections made. And you may have to provide proof of information such as name changes, that kind of thing, birth certificates. So proof it very carefully. There is also a PIN number that's asked for, and that is a BC education number. It's not a mandatory field. So if you don't know it, if you're not from BC, don't worry about it. But if it doesn't let you pass that, then just fill it full of 9s so that we know that there's an issue there and we can correct that. Your next tab is the education history. And if you're applying to undergraduate 3rd year or graduate program, we're only looking for post-secondary education that's for credit. So all of that professional development that you've done, short courses, those wouldn't be listed here. Those would be on your resume. If you select enter in international education, and that includes US education, you will be asked about a international credential evaluation, which is a requirement for all international education. You have an option of internal or external. If you are providing an external evaluation report, you do need to put something in that box, either the name of the institution, the agency, or even just TBC to be confirmed if you're not sure who it's going to be. If you leave it blank, there will be a fee of $126.28 currently for us to do it internally, and that'll be added to the payment page. Also, if your international education isn't, the transcripts aren't in English, translation will be required of those transcripts as well. And then on the payment page, you will have options of payment method, credit card, money order, check. So pick the appropriate payment method. There is a box at the bottom that you have to check off. And you are declaring by doing so that you've declared all post-secondary education that was for credit, and the information you've provided is correct and up to date. Once you submit the online application form, you can't make any changes to it. So if you do realize that you've entered something incorrectly, you will have to follow up with admissions by email. And within a few days, business days, your application will be uploaded into the system, and you will receive an ID number, which would become your student number should you be admitted to the program. You can't actually attach any documents to that online application. Those are sent to us separately, and we'll go into that now. Next slide, please. So the first document to look into is your transcripts. Some undergraduate programs for standard admission only require transcripts to be sent to us. But all flexible admission, everything else does require transcripts. To be official, they need to come to us directly from the granting institution, either by mail in their sealed envelope, or nowadays we are accepting email directly from the granting institution. If transfer credit is noted on a transcript, we do need the transcript from the original institution, as it will cover their processes, policies, regulations, and all of the courses that you did at that institution. If it's education from outside of Canada, as I mentioned, an international credential evaluation is required. We can do it internally for a fee. We do not start that evaluation until all of your other application documents have been submitted. And at that point, it can take 4 to 6 weeks. So it's often quicker to work with an external evaluation agency. We accept credential evaluations from World Education Services, of course, by course report, or from the International Credential Evaluation Services, and it would need to be a comprehensive report. And those, to be official, have to come to us directly from the agency. Next slide. Lisa, did you want to go into this? No, I'll talk to it. So no,
sorry, I can speak to this one, Ron. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Mark, for flipping the slide too. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about your resume. So although it is somewhat self-explanatory, everyone knows what a resume is, the resume that we require will be much more detailed than what you would submit for a position inside or outside of your organization. It should be presented chronologically and structured with the headings that you see on the slide deck there. So education, as Rhonda was mentioning, include all post-secondary education, no matter how long ago it was and no matter how relevant or maybe even irrelevant that you may think it is, please include everything on your education. Professional experience. So here's where we really want a lot of descriptions around your duties and responsibilities. As we know, not all titles fully describe exactly what we're doing on the ground. So please express your roles so that we may better understand your background. Highlight components of the roles which connect directly to your program of choice. For example, you may have had opportunities to lead, to coach, to manage projects or conflicts, to communicate, and to research. Again, please describe your roles in detail. We're looking for volunteer and unpaid work experience if you've had an opportunity to do those things, or community work as well. If you've had any professional memberships or certifications or international experience. And please don't forget professional development. At Royal Roads, we so value the learning that comes from non-credit courses as well. So please include any courses or workshops that you feel would add strength to your application. Could I have the next slide, please, Mark? Thanks. Personal statement. You'll notice on some of our program pages, it's also called the letter of intent. Either way, this is a chance for you to really reflect on what I call the why here, why now of applying to a program at Royal Roads. You should speak to your strengths and your gifts, what you're bringing to the program, your cohort and your team. And you should also speak to what you're hoping to take away from the program, how you'll apply your learned skills both immediately in your current role and how you intend to apply those skills and knowledge as you move forward into your career as well. In essence, tell us why you believe you're going to be a great fit for the program. The personal statement should align and capture components of your resume for us to make the linkages between your past experiences and your intended educational goals. Please keep in mind that many programs will use the statement as an illustration of your writing skills. So please proofread, cite where appropriate, don't plagiarize, obviously, and or have somebody else write it for you. We need it to come from you. Many programs have very, very specific criteria and guiding questions which need to be addressed. So again, and I think we're going to reiterate this quite a few times during the presentation, it's so important to refer to the application requirements page of your particular program. And for the doctorate programs, I'm going to let Rhonda take it away. Thanks, Rhonda.
Okay, thank you. The doctorate program doesn't ask for a personal statement, but it does require a research proposal. And research at Royal Roads does need to address a real current issue. And at the doctorate level, you need experience relating to that issue. So a lot of what's captured in your personal statement is also rolled into the research proposal as part of that. Next slide. So we do require references for all of our programs. Normally, it's a minimum of 2. The doctorates do require 3. These need to be program specific. We're not looking for a generic job reference that was written for you for various purposes. We want your writers to tell us why they feel you'll do well in the program and how it's going to benefit you and your work. Normally, we're looking for an academic and a professional. Some programs want just professional. We will accept professional to professional or professional and say one from volunteer work. We don't expect you to find someone from an academic background that was years ago. Rest assured you don't have to go figure out who you learned from 10 years ago. Personal references are also okay too, but they can't be from family members, of course. And to be official, they do need to come to us directly from the writers. Usually they're emailed in, and it's okay if they copy you on the email, and it should come from their professional email address. They do have to be dated within 6 months of applying. So keep that in mind. We can't reuse transcripts or reference letters from previous applications. Next slide. The writing sample. So not all programs require a writing sample. The application requirements page will note it if it is required. Right now, I think it's the MBA and the leadership program primarily. The doctorate also requires a writing sample, but it's specifically a thesis chapter, academic paper, or professional paper. For the writing sample, if it's required, you'll be given 3 options. If your academic education was within the last 2 years, you can submit an academic paper from it. If it's been more than 2 years and you feel confident of your writing skills, you could do the original 500-word essay. There's usually a guiding question such as, what is your leadership philosophy? And we are looking to see that citation and referencing in that essay. If it's been more than 10 years, say, or you're being admitted through flexible admission, you're just not confident that you can do a great job on the 500-word essay, then you really should be looking at the academic writing and critical thinking course through our continuing studies office. It's an 8-week online course that does need to be completed many weeks in advance of the start of your degree program. Next slide.
Back to me. But wait, there's more. So we have talked a lot about many different documents, but there are some additional requirements and recommendations for certain programs. Again, check your particular program page to see if it applies to you. So to talk a little bit more about that academic writing critical thinking course that Rhonda has mentioned, it is normally recommended if you're coming in under flexible admission, if you've been away from school for a while, or if you don't meet a minimum GPA or grade point average. It can also be used in lieu of a writing sample, as Rhonda just mentioned. So again, check your specific program's requirements. The academic writing course is an 8-week fully online course, which provides skills and knowledge for not just proper citation and referencing, but for the critical thinking piece that is so integral in post-secondary studies. It really does provide a solid foundation that sets you up for success in your studies. I might mention here too that I did actually take this course myself last summer to set myself up for success in my graduate program. Even though writing is, I think, one of my strengths, I really found I benefited so much from taking this course. So I can't say enough good things about that course. The accounting prep courses are often recommended for business programs, as you'll need a strong numeracy background for those programs. Those courses are also completely online and available through our continuing studies department. Each is normally between 4 and 7 weeks in duration. We have financial accounting and managerial accounting fundamentals, which are 4 weeks long, principles of accounting, which are 7 weeks long, and survey of financial accounting, which is a 6-week long course. Again, these courses may be required or recommended depending on your program of intent and are there to set you up for success in graduate or undergraduate level learning. Now, if you anticipate one of these courses to be a condition of admission, as we were saying earlier around flexible admission, etc., please send your proof of payment, which is the receipt that you get from Canadian Studies, to admissions@royalroads.ca with your name, your applicant number, and your program of intent. This way, the admissions advisors will know that this is how you're fulfilling the writing sample and/or flexible admission requirement. And once you complete the course, you'll be emailed a PDF letter of completion, which includes your final grade. Again, forward that along to admissions so that the advisors will be able to lift the condition if it is one for you. Now, the interdisciplinary study programs require a program course schedule as part of the application package. Once you have applied to a program, the interdisciplinary program staff will contact you. They're going to work closely with you to discover your background, your interests, your intended plans for research, and draft a customized course schedule in close collaboration with yourself. As you would be taking courses from a number of different areas and parent programs across campus, the staff are there to ensure that there aren't too many gaps in your schedule or too many overlaps. Again, that schedule becomes part of your application package. Next slide, please, Mark. Thank you. Now what? So what do you do with all these documents that we've been talking about? Well, first of all, you do not need to submit them all at once. You can submit them one by one as you get them ready. So let's talk about the transcripts a little bit first. In terms of document submission transcripts, many institutions are not currently able to provide hard copies at this time for obvious reasons, but may be able to provide digital versions, whether it's PDF or fax. Royal Roads can accept hard copy or digital as long as it's coming directly from the institution itself. It will be regarded as official. So please check with your former institutions to see what their current process is. Beyond the transcripts, everything else can be emailed to admissions@royalroads.ca. Many people, when they're filling in the online application, are looking for somewhere to upload or download or attach these documents. You won't find it because you can't do it. You do need to email them directly to the admissions department. The letters of reference, I believe Rhonda mentioned this earlier, do need to come directly from the authors themselves, from their professional email addresses, wherever possible. Now, once we have received your online application and all of your supporting documents, then the review of your application can begin. So in other words, we don't wait for the application deadline. As soon as your application is complete, we'll start taking a look at it. This process normally takes between 4 and 6 weeks. And then once you are sent an offer, you will need to pay a $550 deposit in order to secure a seat in the program. You'll also have the choice to accept an alternate intake at that point, but still must pay that $550 regardless of the start date. That deposit goes towards your overall tuition. Next slide, please, Mark. Thank you. So this is a slide of hyperlinks, obviously, that you may find helpful. That first one, the learn.more, royalroads.ca, that is how you can contact myself or Rhonda, Christine, Tracy, Beth, any of our team for domestic inquiries. If you're an international student, you'll need to contact that team at learn.more.international@royalroads.ca. We've included a hyperlink for the apply now, and you will actually find that apply button on each program page as well. There's also a link for an international credential evaluation and the application process itself. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now I see we have a few more minutes. So if you have questions, please pop them into the chat box and we will do our very best to answer them.
Great, thanks, Lisa. Yeah, there are some questions. So let's go to the questions. Here is a question from, okay, I don't have the name, but if I already have sent my reference letters together with other documents, should I ask the authors to resend them again directly to the university? I'm sorry, actually, I just read that Christine's already answered this question in the chat box, so I'll go to the next question. If my past work experience is mostly unrelated to the degree I wish to apply for, but my educational experience aligns, will my personal statement be given greater consideration?
All of your documents are going to be taken into consideration for the application. It really depends on if the program you're applying to requires work experience, specific experience. The personal statement, the passion you show in it for wanting the degree and how it's going to help you with your career can carry a lot of weight. So every document is important. It's a case-by-case assessment based on what you bring to the program, what we're looking for, and the focus of your studies, your reasons. So it will be given some serious consideration in your personal statement. Anything to add, Lisa?
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay.
Thanks, Rhonda.
We have another question. It's about, again, the academic writing and critical thinking course. And I agree with Lisa. I took it before taking a program at Royal Roads, and it was an excellent course, not only for writing. I really felt that it prepared me for, I'd been out of school for a number of years, and it really prepared me to get back in school and get my brain, getting into the study mode again. So anyway, the question is, does completing the RU academic writing and critical thinking course increase one's chances to secure a place if it was a recommendation from the adjudication team? If not completed, will it affect the admission decision?
I mean, it certainly can. If you're sort of implying that it's a recommendation and not a requirement. Now, if it's a requirement, that's something different. Then it would be maybe a condition of admission. If it's a recommendation, yeah, I mean, it would certainly add strength to your application, as Mark was saying, not just what you're learning, but I found even, getting my feet wet, even in just to the online learning environment. Again, I've been away from school for many, many years. We won't do the math right now. But even taking online courses, I hadn't taken anything for credit online, and I felt that made a big difference. So yeah, I think it could affect the decision in that it does add strength to your application. Would you add anything further to that, Rhonda, or what do you think?
Just that because we do a rolling assessment for most of our programs, we're looking at what you bring to the program at that point. You're not in sort of direct competition with others. So it adds strength. It's going to help with our decision, but it may not, bump you up because it is a rolling assessment at the time. If you meet our requirements, you're going to get an offer to the program.
Yeah, and I think Christine mentioned too that all documents are going to be taken into consideration. I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but it is a very holistic approach to the whole admission process is holistic. So we're looking at all of the documents fairly equally.
Thank you. I just want to recognize that we are coming towards the end of our allotted time, but there's still a couple more questions, so we'll keep going. And if you want to stick around, that's wonderful. The next question is, can I submit transcripts which are 4 years old in a sealed envelope? I had acquired these for my admission to my American university. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe so, Mohammed. Yes, as long as they still are in that original sealed envelope, they will still be regarded as official. So yes.
Thank you, Lisa. Another question: if you already have a copy of transcripts from previous institution that was used to apply for another course, will they need to be resubmitted? And I'm assuming who asked that question, if those transcripts were submitted to Royal Roads already?
Yeah, so if you've got a previous application and submitted transcripts and we're admitted to that program and we have them on file, we'll reuse any transcripts we have and automatically provide the Royal Roads one. You don't have to have them sent in again. If your previous application wasn't successful, we may not have kept at those transcripts. So in that case, you would have to have them resent.
Wonderful. That's the end of the questions that I see, but I have a question that actually comes up quite often. That if somebody wants to apply for a program at Royal Roads, but they haven't quite finished the program that they're in at another institution. Let's say they're in a diploma program and they want to come to their undergrad program. How does that work? Because they won't have the final transcripts to submit.
They would have to submit a transcript for where things are at that point. And if we admit them, it will be conditionally upon the completion of their program. And at that point, they would have to submit a final transcript that shows that the credential, the diploma or whatever they were going after was awarded. So it does require 2 transcripts, but they don't have to wait until they've been awarded the credential before they can apply. It just has to be awarded before our program starts.
Great, thanks, Rhonda.
You're welcome.
And I believe there's one more question. I have a degree that was taught completely in English and I'm from India. Why would I require an English language test? I'm unclear. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I would probably recommend that you connect directly with the international admissions folks for that question. Just to sort of briefly comment on the one comment right above that, somebody's giving a shout out to Kelsey. So I just wanted to point that out, that Kelsey Phillips is incredibly helpful and she is actually part of the international admissions team. So Shri, if you wouldn't mind connecting with that learn.more.international@royalroads.ca or Kelsey Phillips directly, you'll be able to get your answers from them.
There is on the English language requirements page a link at the bottom for putting in a waiver request if your English is fully proficient and your education has all been in English. So be sure to check out that page and that waiver request option.
Good point.
Thank you. There's one more question. Does only postgraduate degree transcript needed for DBA? And I'm thinking that might be is only postgraduate degree transcript needed for DBA.
For the DBA, we want your post-secondary education. A master's is mandatory and would be the basis of admission. So we'll need that for sure. And normally for all applications, we are looking for transcripts for all post-secondary education that was for credit. So yeah, we don't need high school transcripts at all unless you're specifically applying for first year entry into a bachelor's degree.
Thank you. It looks like there are no more questions. And I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. So we will be doing a prize giveaway. And so for those of you who haven't done one of these yet, if you go down to your reaction button and click on it, you'll see a raise hand button. And when I give the signal, if you click on raise hand, but wait for the signal, we'll give a prize to the first person that first 2 people that raise their hands. So if everyone's ready, and go now. Wonderful. Okay, so the winners are, wow, look at all those hands again. It's amazing. The winners are Stephanie, Osland, and Jacqueline. And Jacqueline and Stephanie, my associate Mara, will reach out to you and get your contact information and address so we can send you your prizes. So thanks again, everybody. Very much appreciated for you taking your time to visit us today and to join the enrollment team. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining.
And do reach out with your questions.